Oh man. Oh man. All right. Saucy fish. Saucy fish. Saucy Santana clarifies himself after trending online for saying women don't have the same strength as men. This is a confused brother. I heard I've been hearing this a lot lately. A lot of people who either are or work with homosexuals or just effeminate men for whatever the case. A lot of them are saying that a lot of those guys were made to be effeminate, meaning they were sexually violated in some sort of way. You know what I'm saying? It's in the black community. It's so rare and uncommon for sexual assault to be discussed amongst girls, so it's like even more egregious and swept under the rug amongst boys. It's just hard for men to talk about in general. Like it's hard for we about to have a real conversation. It's hard for men to talk about being in abusive relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard for men to openly discuss that. I could say I was in an abusive relationship, and I was in a relationship that was becoming abusive, but I got out ahead of time. And these things happen. These things are real. You know what I mean? But as a man, you have to maintain frame. You know what I'm saying? You gotta, what they say, maintain frame. And you gotta pose a certain way. You gotta keep up a certain image about you in order to maintain your respect. You know what I'm saying? And your dignity. Unlike Carisha. Boy, they ripped her apart. The internet, boy. Listen, if you was on Carisha's timeline, please don't come over here. Please. I'm just an innocent bystander, just little old me. Don't bring me that energy. God damn, they tore her apart. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. But these things are real, you know what I'm saying? And people go through these things. And we gotta have a healthy respect. Like, I was having this conversation with my brother and my son. Like, you never really know amongst men. You never really know who's gay, and the reason being is because you got to think, like, I was using like street dudes as a reference. This conversation is becoming wild while I got Saucy Santana in the background. Wait, which way? While I got Saucy Santana in the background, this conversation is going wild. But we need it, though. The community needs it. But I was having a conversation with my brother and my son, my oldest son. Just random, like I was just in my thoughts. Which is very scary, by the way. And I was talking about how let me see if the Instagram is chopping it up. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see if anybody. Shout out to Pretty Bayesian Ting. Shout out to Pretty Bayesian Ting. Thank you for tuning in on Instagram. I was having a conversation. Back to what I was saying. I was having a conversation with my brother and my son about, and using street dudes as a reference. You got to think, like, the 99% of street dudes. I would say 95% of street dudes grew up without a father in the home. You know what I'm saying? And they're pretty much raised by the streets. And so it's safe to say they're pretty exposed and vulnerable. Because you could have if you're raised by the streets, you could have a good upbringing, and you could have guys who looked out for you and, kept you safe and showed you the ropes. Or you could have people who took advantage of you. You know what I'm saying? Left you out in the cold, left you for dead. You know what I'm saying? Violated you in some sort of way, and all those kind of things. So you're pretty vulnerable. And I think for the most part, even if you had a father, you'd be pretty vulnerable or whatever the case may be. But more than likely, having a father in your life kind of shelters you from a lot of bullshit. If you know what I'm saying, if you know what I mean. So a lot of these 95% of street dudes, and that includes the dudes in prison. You know what I'm saying? 95% of street dudes grew up without a father. So who's being a role model to these men? Who's being an example of manhood to these men? Where are they getting their examples of manhood from? You know what I'm saying? Where is this coming from? And so a lot of them are learning as they go. A lot of them are learning from experiences and learning the hard way. You know what I'm saying? So now, and then when you talk about incarceration, a lot of these guys are spending their adolescent, prepubescent, teenage years being incarcerated, whether it be juvie or the county or the state or even the feds. You know what I'm saying? We're just prison period, just any kind of incarceration period. They're spending their early developmental years in prison, and they're being raised without fathers. You know what I'm saying? And so where are they learning intimacy? Where are they learning how to treat a woman? Where are they learning the intimacy with a woman? Where are they getting this from? What's guiding them down this route? Like I said, they're exposed and vulnerable, so they can go in any direction, right? So yeah, being on the streets, yeah, you got to be tough. You got to take no shit, so on and so forth. But at the same time, you could be exposed to homosexuality. You know what I'm saying? In a very bad way, or even in a good way. Like, look at the movie Moonlight. Perfect example. These things are real. That's okay. You could say that's a movie, but these things happen. You know what I mean? So now you got these super tough, thuggy thug, gangster street dudes. You know what I'm saying? Who everybody's scared of, but are bati fishes. You know what I'm saying? And respectively, they're tough, you know. But I always say being a man and being tough are two different things. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, they're tough. They play no games, so on and so forth. But they're bati fishes, you know. And so it's like, if they're gay, if they could be gay, like, and then you seen it in the show, the TV show based on reality, based on real, real lifestyles. What's the show? I was just thinking about how could I forget the name of the show? It's like the show is still hot right now. P-Valley. Yeah. P-Valley. You know what I'm saying? Perfect example. You know what I'm saying? There's really dudes in the street like that. You know what I mean? They gangster as all get out. But hey, they're bati fishes. When the time comes, they're bati fishes. It is what it is. And, you know what I mean? And so when you take all of that in, pause, you start to realize, like, yo, anybody could be gay. Any dude could be gay, really. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then you start going back in the Rolodex in your mind and saying, like, yo, who? So, like, what do you mean? So you mean that dude was gay? wait, that dude was gay? You know what I mean? And so, like, you start to be afraid of, like, not to sound homophobic, but you start to realize there's like a gay boogeyman. You know what I'm saying? You start to have a new respect for homosexuality. Like, if these dudes could be gay, then that means anybody could be gay. You know what I'm saying? So when I see a finished product like Saucy Santana, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm pretty sure, like, I'm pretty, like, yes, I do believe to some extent. I wouldn't say certain boys are born a certain way, but there are. I do believe biologically there are men who are less masculine than other men biologically. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not talking about phenotype and physique wise. I'm just talking about just personality wise. Because you ever see a bunch of babies and, like, how all the little babies have their own personality? Or, like, you could go to, like, a farm and you see, like, all the chickens. Like, there's certain chickens or certain goats that may have their own personality. I do believe personality wise, from a biological perspective, just developmentally, like, you know, there are certain men who are just happen to be less masculine, less alpha. You know what I'm saying? And so when you see a finished product, a finished fish, you know, like Saucy Santana, it's like, you just gotta say, you kind of have to look at the villain movie for how the villain became the villain, as opposed to just judging the villain for being a villain. You know what I mean? And that's just, I'm saying that in analogy, not to say that Saucy Santana is a villain. For those of you who are less critical thinking minded, or who aren't as educated, or just who are just aren't as intelligent, period.